Hey everyone, Yoiston here, and I hope you all are doing well, wherever you are in Middle-earth. Today I wanted to do a summer live stream with you all since it's been a long time since our last one in the winter. We have lots of news to discuss, and honestly I just can't wait to speak with you all again. How's everybody doing? I'm gonna send some posts out on Facebook and Twitter and all that just to show we're live. Let's see. There we go. Can everybody hear me all right? Ranger of the North, good to see you, man. Yoiston is never late. He arrives precisely when he means to. Yeah, I mean, just before this, I was playing. I don't know if any of you have heard of the game Mordau. They have it's pretty much like a sword game, a lot like Chivalry, like medieval combat and stuff. And they have some modded maps. And I was just playing at Helm's Deep, fighting off Uruk-hai in just this medieval game. So I was doing that in the last hour, getting ready for the live stream. How are you guys all doing? I think more people will show up as we start to go, and if not, it'll be good just to talk to you guys. Grimdark. Mordau is such a meme game. Yeah, it is. Yeah. James Trudell, happy to see you. Hope you're doing well as well. Good, loud and clear. Good to hear it. Marion Baggins, it's good to see you on holidays now. That's great. That's great. Hugo, love your videos, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. Yeah, let's see. So the last live stream was after we hit 300,000. So that was like 6 or 7 months ago, I think. It's gone so fast. Just a bit of, I never like to talk about myself that much, but just a bit of life updates, right? So I moved into my house in the past couple months, and, again, you guys made that possible here. So I'm sitting in my Middle-earth office with a ton of Middle-earth things around me, and my Tolkien shelf over there with a bunch of Tolkien books on it, and you guys are the best, so thank you so much. I actually just adopted a dog last week as well. I had a cat before, as many of you knew. And, yeah, she's the best. She's an Australian Sheppard, so I'm really happy right now. And, yeah, I'm glad just to catch up with you all. Yeah, Grimdark says that Tolkien bust on my desk is dank. Yeah, I just looked up at him. He's the best. He watches over everything. Mr. Tolkien, Professor Tolkien himself. Ridgy, good to see you. Yoiston is the best Battle for Middle-earth player. Changed my mind. I wish that were true. Oh, man. So, on our Patreon, if any of you guys are interested, we play Battle for Middle-earth once a month, and on top of doing our podcast and stuff as well. If you guys are interested in playing Battle for Middle-earth with me and likely destroying me because I'm not that good against other people, feel free to join our Patreon. Marion, her name is Lily. She's about 3 years old, and my dog. I was thinking about changing her name and giving her a Tolkien name, but we'll see if she adapts into one, because right now she just answers to Lily there. But oh, good. I'm glad to get this question, so I can talk about this really fast and push it out of the way. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. I'm sorry, but will you ever do a face reveal? I don't really plan to. I always talk about this every live stream, which is totally fine, but I really don't want to, because I don't want to ever make this channel about me. I always say it, I'm just a Tolkien fan with a microphone, and I never want this channel to be about me, and anonymity, especially in today's day and age, is really nice, so, yeah, hexproof. Yep, that's how you spell it. Sorry, I might butcher some of your guys' names. Again, also happens every live stream. So I've always had a nightmare. CG Yakub says, yeah, I've always had a nightmare of a time trying to download Battle for Middle-earth 2, so maybe one day I can join the party. Yeah, dude, me too. It's fine. I've played it all my life, but still my patrons are like my Yoiston tech support, so you're totally good. Moira, it's good to see you. She's an Australian Shepherd. She's so cute. So if she starts barking, I do apologize, but I think everybody's good to go right now. She's sleeping by my feet. I was thinking about, like, before I adopted her, I was thinking about what a good name for her might be in, like, Tolkien, like Varda or Elbereth or something. Oh, yeah, see, yeah, if I got a male dog, his name would totally be Huan. Oh, yeah, or Huan. Marion, did Helm go to the same gym in Arda as Tolkas? You know it. Honestly, so in the Lord of the Rings Online, they're starting to make, like, this brawler class based off of, I believe, Helm Hammerhand and kind of Tolkas. So yeah, they probably went to the same gym. You know, take the same supplements and protein powder, all that good stuff. Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I'm so glad to see you all. It's been so long, and thank you all for joining me today. Oh, Comic Nut, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Hey, Yoiston, the Discord never answered the question I proposed. Which of the Fellowship can Crip walk the best? All right. Let me just make sure I've got the... Okay, so that's like... I've actually done, I think, that dance in a show before, in like a theater show before. I think you're right. Maybe Gimli could Crip walk the best. Or sea walk. Legolas, probably, though. You know, he's got those long legs and everything. Hope that answers your question. Hexproof says, Yoiston, have you heard that Wizards of the Coast is planning to release a Lord of the Rings set for Magic the Gathering next year? Oh, awesome. I didn't know that. You know, before I moved into my house, I actually used to live next to a comic book shop. And in the comic book shop, every once in a while, like, I'd go in there and see some, I think they were, I don't exactly know what they were for. Maybe a Middle-earth, like, tabletop game. Maybe you guys can help me out there. They were, like, books with stories within Middle-earth, like, written in them, kind of like fan stories that you would play through. I don't know if it was D&D, but it very well could have been a D&D, like, source book for a Middle-earth campaign. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm about to butcher your name, but Callisto Arcaz, thank you so much for joining our membership on the channel. Yeah, I agree, Trig, Ireland. I do think that I do think the Faceless Voice has sometimes an unearned air of authority. I mean, yeah, it's kind of nice because I'm sure all of you guys imagine differently what I look like. And then it's funny, if you guys ever actually saw me, I probably would not look like how you think I look. That's always how it happens on YouTube with, like, disembodied voices. But again, it's never about me. And I mean, so when I did the interview with Dominic Monaghan and Billy Boyd, I said, like, they were kind of wondering why they couldn't see me as well, but I could see them. And I told them, yeah, I mean, I'll just be the disembodied voice coming out of the White Tree logo. So, because again, it's not about me, and I don't know. In conversations like that, I definitely get the utility and how nice it is to see face to face for sure. But I prefer to keep it about, like, the visuals from online artists with Middle Earth, and then tag their art in the description for most of my videos. Like, that's how I prefer to keep it. Okay, perfect. So Bartik Weselwalski says, Yoiston, what do you think of the new Lord of the Rings anime, The War of the Rohirrim? Perfect. I did want to talk about that a bit today here. Voice of Geekdom, good to see you, man. He looks like the Stig from Top Gear. I love it. So, with the Lord of the Rings anime, I'm super excited. So I never really got into anime that much, and I'm curious, maybe the anime studio approached, like, Warner Brothers and said, hey, we want to do an anime on Lord of the Rings. Like, when should we do it? Maybe they looked through the appendices. I bet that's the case. Like, the people that are making the anime looked through the appendices and were like, hey, this sounds like a good point in time to do a story or something. It's interesting that it's anime, and it's interesting that that's the time that they chose, the War of the Rohirrim with, because I imagine it's War of the Rohirrim with the Dunlendings, that happened in, like, the, I want to say the 2700s of the Third Age. Let me check that. Yeah, I think it was the 2700s. Yeah, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, no, Marcus Aurelius. Love the name. I wonder what kind of animation they're going to use. Yeah, me too. And because, like, I would say the closest thing that I ever got into anime with was Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I absolutely love. I'm curious if it's going to be more like that. Oh, thanks, Voice of Geekdom. Thanks, Dan. 2758 to 2759. Yeah, that sounds right. Cool. Yeah. Okay. So it's about 250 years before the Lord of the Rings. Give or take a couple years, a couple decades. But yeah, I'm excited. That's an interesting thing that I didn't think of really. I always thought if somebody came along to make like an age or a third age show, it was going to be something like the Angmar War, but the Dunlending War. That's going to be really fascinating to see. Thanks, Ridgy. Face reveal. Nope, sorry, not even for patrons. I'm sorry. Hey, Lord of the Golden Flower, good to see ya. Yeah, let's see, Ranger of the North says, have I watched Ralph Bakshi, and what do I think of it? I have not. Honestly, this is all kind of new territory for me. Thanks, Hugh. I appreciate that. Hugh Gedney. I hope you have a great day as well. Yeah, and maybe it's that they chose that time period just because it's a kind of isolated story within Rohan, right? You have Helm Hammerhand getting in his troubles with Freka, and then his son, Freka's son, Wolf. And it's definitely more limited to Rohan and Dunland because Gondor couldn't really help at that time because I believe they were fighting either the Corsairs or the Easterlings at the time. Maybe both. Yeah. So I'm not really too worried about it. We'll talk a little bit more about this later, I'm sure. I'm probably more worried about the Amazon show at large than the anime because the anime is a smaller project that seems like a passion project almost. Versus Amazon might have other... Again, this is all speculation. I don't know for sure. But Amazon might have other interests at hand, right? Earning back the $500 million they put into season 1, right? Things like that. Appealing to this global audience, as they said, to make a lot of money globally. So, but this, it seems a lot more like a passion project, so... Tayton Bradley says, I'm so interested in Angmar. Is there any content you recommend where you can learn more about it? In terms of primary sources, Appendix A of the within the Return of the King, the Appendix A of the Lord of the Rings, that one has the most on Angmar, and it's actually, I believe it's actually mostly in the Gondor section of Appendix A, because it shows how Eärnur the Second, the last king of Gondor, how he came up there and fought Angmar. There's a lot there for sure. Oh, thank you so much, Callisto Arquez. I appreciate the super chat. Oh, let's see. It's pronounced Callisto. Oh, okay. That's much easier than how I was pronouncing it. Thank you so much. I love your videos, which I stream on my Discord for Tolkien lore watch parties. That's awesome. That's awesome. And most followers say yours are their favorite YouTube videos I use. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm glad you all liked my content. Again, as I always say, it's I just started off making Tolkien YouTube videos years ago and just never thought it would turn into what it's turned into. And I always try to remind myself just to think about it like my roots, right? It's a little harder when anyone gets an audience to keep the momentum that you had in the beginning, whether it's in how often you do the videos or the quality of the videos, but really it's me talking about the stories that I love, that I grew up with, and sharing it with you guys, this great community. That's how I approach it, right? No matter how big I get, or how big the channel gets, really. So, Nerd Cookies, good to see you. She says, well, Sola in partnership with Warner Brothers Animation. Okay, yeah, and it's interesting too, because I know Amazon has the rights to the Lord of the Rings, or at least some part of it, so Warner Brothers still retains some of those rights as well, which is pretty cool. Mm. Aaron Evergreen, good to see you. I didn't even know you had a Discord. Is the link somewhere I can join? So it's actually a Patreon only Discord. So if you join our Patreon, then the link should be sent to you through that. It's just the best and like the easiest way to kind of moderate it. So, Lady Tariel, first time I've caught you live. Oh, glad to see you. Yeah, I tried to do a different time and day for this live stream because usually it's like Sundays earlier in the day, for me at least. So I'm glad I could see some of you all. Mr. SRA 13, you are the man who have Tolkien lore within these communities. Thank you so much. I definitely don't. I don't see myself like that. Like, again, I'm just a Tolkien fan. I see myself more as a random storyteller among men, you know, in Middle Earth, and that's that. So Grimdark Elven Lore Master, shouldn't your YouTube members have the same patron benefits? So it's membership is weird on YouTube. I'm trying to still figure it out, honestly, and I don't know. Patreon is just so much more like reliable, I guess is the best word. Like it keeps the community together, all of that kind of stuff. The membership thing on YouTube has some of that. I'm trying to keep it all on Patreon though. Like I guess I could post a Discord link on the membership part of YouTube. I'm not sure. Members, let me know if you'd like that. Because you guys are totally members, are welcome to join the Discord as well. But I'm trying to just keep it on Patreon just so I am posting everything in one place. Mark O'Neill, greetings from sunny Scotland. Love the channel. Thank you so much. Greetings from Colorado here for you. Yeah, for you. I was like, have I revealed that before? Yeah. You guys all know I'm in Colorado. River Critter, Helm's bones are in the Hornburg, right? No, they were actually after he froze to death outside of within Helm's Deep during the war. I believe his body was recovered and buried outside of Edoras, just like the other kings. Timbo Took, my friends, go check out Timbo Took if you guys like Lord of the Rings art. He does some of the best, especially here on YouTube. Like, he's a great guy. It's a good day when I catch you live. Yeah, it's good to see you, man. Good to see you. Lady Tariel, thank you so much for joining as a member. I appreciate you. Yeah, members, just reach out if there's anything I can do for you. Hexproof, hello from Estes Park, Colorado. Hey, that's awesome. We're like an hour away from each other, so yeah, how's it going? SI not found. Love your videos, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Moira Mahone asks, I'm sorry, I definitely, I feel like I pronounce your name wrong at least once every live stream. What are your favorite videos to make? Character histories, artifacts of Arda, locations in Middle-earth, etc. So it's funny, I feel like my character histories, my epic character histories are like the bread and butter of the channel. But the Timeline of Arda series, that's probably my most, like, that's the series that I'm most proud of, I would say, and then my epic character histories after that. But yeah, Timeline of Arda. I think if Tolkien were still around today, and like that's the series that I think he would most enjoy, as well as the Timeline of Arda, because it's going to be by the time I'm done with it, I have like 3 or 4 more episodes before the Timeline of Arda series is like wrapped up. I think probably 3 more episodes. When that one's wrapped up, right, to be able to watch the same playlist from the Years of the Lamps and from the Ainu Lindale to the Fourth Age, like, I think that one I'm very proud of. But I love making, in terms of making them, I love them all differently, but kind of equally, if that makes sense. Oh, you're in, let me see how to say your name again one more time. Callisto, you're in Greeley. Yeah, I'm about 30 minutes from you, honestly. So awesome. Nice to meet you. Greetings from Chile. That's awesome. Greetings from the U.S. Good to see you all. I'm so glad I could. Like, we could get together today and talk and hang out here. Lord Heckle Smush. We need an epic character history on Fingolfin. Totally. See, Morgoth versus Fingolfin in anime form. Grimdark, good to see you. Yeah, I totally agree. That's funny. That's awesome. That would be awesome. Honestly, a lot of the Silmarillion, if those rights ever open up, a lot of the Silmarillion would make for a great anime, I think. Just the scope of it all. And like, yeah, because I feel like animes do well on, like, pretty small scopes or really large, like, scopes. So, the Balerion and the Silmarillion and all that, that'd be great. Michael Kenny, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Appreciate the live chat, or the super chat. Look at the time. Time to spark that old Toby. Oh, yeah, have fun. the good stuff. Morgan Gray, your ability to fill in the gaps is excellent. Allows us to mentally see what happens afterwards, after the third era. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm glad these videos can do that for you all. Like, when I started years ago, my goal was to both, like, look at stories that people do know, right? The history of Aragorn, which is definitely more known than the history of Finarfin, for instance. But to look at both of them somewhat, like, equally throughout my videos, and to explore the unexplored things as well as the more explored stuff and just kind of fill in those gaps. And it's funny, after having done this for years, I feel like my videos tie into each other pretty well, which is like, as almost like an author of these videos or an artist of these videos, like, it feels really good to me to where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna make, I don't know, a Prince Imrahil video. And it's like, okay, in this Prince Imrahil video, I'm going to tie it into Éomer, because Éomer married his daughter. So, boom, there's his story. I'm going to, put it in a card. Oh, it ties into Aragorn's story, because Prince Imrahil is, like, one of the most loyal men to Aragorn when Aragorn becomes the king. So I'm going to tie it into his story. It's, like, really fun to be able to, because I have all these videos made, to be able to tie them all together and rope them all together. Marion Baggins, have you ever met Lord of the Rings Hobbit actor in Comic-Con? I actually haven't. I don't know if I've ever really been to a Comic-Con. I need to go for sure. I think the closest big ones to me would be Denver, so I think I gotta check those out. The Chronicles of Rogby. I can't stay as I'm still in work, but I wish you all a good day. It's a good day to be... Good. It is a good day to be a good day to be, or a day to be good on. A good day whether you wish it for it or no. Thank you so much. That was awesome. Castra, hey, Men of the West, I'm a huge fan. Nice to meet you. What other fantasy universes are you a fan of? Star Wars, for sure. Back in... Honestly, I've read the first book, but A Song of Ice and Fire, I do like that as well. Avatar, big fan of Avatar The Last Airbender. And recently, I've been definitely getting more and more into D&D over the past year with my friends. So I'm going to tread very lightly and carefully with this question. But I do think it's worth addressing. The only Rick James, what do you think of the fact that Amazon is most likely ruining Lord of the Rings with their woke stuff? So, it's way too early to judge, like, for me to judge anything. And, I mean, we don't even have a trailer yet with Amazon. So I think we owe them the benefit of the doubt. There's just as much of a chance that this will be really amazing as not. And I think we owe it to Amazon and to the people working on the cast and crew and all that stuff to give them a chance, at least until after the first couple episodes come out. Then we can kind of be like, oh, this is what we expected. This isn't what we expected. I was telling Royan this on, like, our last podcast. It's almost like, some shows you need, like, a full episode to really get into. But others or other movies, you need, like, a couple minutes. Right, when you pull up Fellowship of the Ring, and then it's, goes through the title cards and you start to hear the music and everything, and then you hear Galadriel say, the world is changed. Like, you're immediately teleported into Middle-earth. You're back, right? I have a feeling that with the Amazon show, it'll be somewhat similar, where it's like, right after the title cards, how they approach the music, how they approach the first few scenes, we'll know in our hearts kind of what that's like. So I'm going to stay away from the politics aspect of that question because, so I studied political science back in college, and honestly, like, I've told this to Matt from Nerd of the Rings. We talk quite often, but, like, I'm so tired of how politicized everything is. Even in the Tolkien community, which is weird. In the Tolkien community, it's like in Tolkien's works, all of the best stories, like all of the stories of heroism, of valor, of honor, always involve multiple peoples from multiple different communities and kindreds and races coming together to achieve something bigger than themselves. This categorical imperative, if you want to go into the philosophy side of things. And that's important, right? So as long as we see something like that, like, we can forget the politics. Let's leave, like, the politics out of things and just remember the stories that we all love, conservative or liberal, whatever. Like, we all are in this community together. So I have nothing to say with the Amazon stuff. I don't know what they're going to do with the show yet. So there you go. I hope they don't ruin it for one way or another, for politics or from something else, but we'll see. Castro, thank you so much for the super chat. Given that Lord of the Rings is in many ways a religious work, what are your thoughts about Christianity in Middle-earth? That's a really interesting question. And these are, like, the kind of philosophical questions that I really love to think about. So it's interesting how Tolkien in Middle-earth set up his theology, because when you look at it, right, there's one god above all, Eru Ilúvatar, but he has subsects of gods, at least as men know gods, right? I think men loosely call the Valar gods. And so that sets up more of a polytheistic, like, religion, almost. But there's still one god above those other gods. I can't remember what that kind of religion is called, where it's like there's still one ultimate god, but there are also other gods. But it's really fascinating because you see some of the Christian impacts in the literature, in the stories from everywhere, right? The hierarchy of the elves, right? The high elves to the gray elves and the wood elves to the dark elves. You see, because the high elves are the closest ones to the gods and to Ilúvatar, and the dark elves are the ones, like, physically furthest away from them because they never came to Valinor. So it's really, you definitely see the roots, but I don't think Tolkien, I don't think he necessarily, like, rewrote the Bible, you know? He's not smacking people over the head with his theological, like, aspirations or beliefs, but it's definitely there in such a way to make it very fascinating. Let me check that. Because that might be the case. I mean, it's mon-polytheism. That's interesting. Ranger of the North, did you know that Lord of the Rings was inspired by Catholic faith and everything that Tolkien wrote is connected to the gospel? Oh yeah, no, that doesn't surprise me. But it's how he retold it, you know? One of my old literature English teachers, he said, which is a common theory that a lot of, like, English teachers and philosophers and academics say, is that everything that will be written has already been written in, like, the Bible, Homer's poems from ancient Greece, and Shakespeare's plays. At least that's how my teacher said it. But I'd also add the pagan mythologies and the pagan writings, I guess. But you could say that everything that will be written, like, you can see its roots in those other things. So that Tolkien connected his works to the gospel, yeah, it totally makes sense. Threna Oakenshield, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day. Joseph Bartsk, I'm so sorry. Joysten, are you answering questions from chat or from super chats? Both. I'm trying to do both. Like, I'll definitely answer super chat questions, and I'll try to answer as many normal questions as I can with giving as thoughtful of answers as possible. Homebody says, if you get into the Lost Works, you can see how Christic the underpinnings of the lore are. Especially the conversation between Finrod and Endreth. Totally. That's a great point. That is a great point. Like, I mean, I think even a lot of the things from the first age, the doom of men, for instance, how death is a gift, but men started to see it as a curse. Like it's super religious in that sense. Ranger of the North, who is my favorite elf? I would definitely say Finrod Felagund, followed closely by Círdan the Shipwright. The thing about those elves, it's not just like their power level or anything, because there are elves who are more powerful. But I love that Finrod was everybody's friend, right? Like, I love that he was kind to other elves from different backgrounds, dwarves. His only kind of shortfall is that he was a bit of an imperialist, which is interesting because when he built Nargothrond, that was actually the ancient home of the petty dwarves, and he and his kingdom just kind of forced them out, and then Finrod built Nargothrond there. That might be his only, like, kind of pitfall as, like, kind of gray morality or perhaps even evil thing that he does as a character is, like... Because the Finrod that I think about would have made friends with the petty dwarves and say, hey, would that be okay if we built together this great kingdom in Nargothrond? But he kind of forced them out of their own home. That's the kind of only somewhat evil thing he did. But I love that guy. Again, it's a little out of character that he did that, but I don't know. Then Círdan is definitely a close second because same kind of reason. He's kind. All he wants to see is Valinor, but the Valar send to him like the kind of thoughts and everything to say, hey, you'll come to Valinor in time, but you have other work to do. Make sure that people have ships so they can come to us, right? And it's make sure, so he stays throughout even the beginning of the Fourth Age to make sure to build ships to make sure his kindred can get to Valinor. I love that. I love that about Círdan. And then I would say Glorfindel is my third favorite. I honestly just made a D&D character for my friends' campaign. Just like within a couple days ago, like his backstory was very reminiscent of Fall of Gondolin and everything like that. But that elf character is a mixture of Finrod, Glorfindel, and Eärendil, I would say, and a bit of Círdan in there, I think. Ridgy, didn't get a chance to talk to you about this yet, but thoughts on the new LOTR update? I love it. I'll spend a little bit of time on that. But, because I don't know if a lot of you guys do play LOTR. I always talk about it, always recommend the Lord of the Rings Online. If you look at the thumbnail here, or even the picture I have up, it's from the Lord of the Rings Online, and same with this one. Yeah. So, I always love giving that one a promotion, to promote that. But, I love the new update, because I love being able to see all 7 clans of the dwarves work together. It's super lore. It's a super loreful update. The Battle of Azan-Nulbazar. Nerd of the Rings, there he is. Hey Matt, how's it going, my buddy? Let's see, Steven Kovalsik, hey, random question. In terms of the timeline of the new movie, does or would Gollum have the One Ring yet? Yes, he would. He was born in 2450-something, I think. Let me check that real fast. Good old Tolkien Gateway. Shout out to Tolkien Gateway for always being there when I need it. 2430 is when, or around then, is when Gollum was born. So yeah, he would have, by 2750s, he would have had the ring already, for sure. But yeah, shout out to Nerd of the Ring. Thanks for being here. Guys, if you want more Lord of the Rings lore, different aspect on things that I have covered or haven't covered, kind of different viewpoint, please check out Matt from Nerd of the Rings. Great guy, great friend of mine. Yeah. Morniel Moonlit. Yeah, saw you on Bloodborne stream the one night before Blood of Azog went out. So Bloodborne, a good friend of mine who's a Lord of the Rings Online YouTuber, he streams Lord of the Rings Online. I just ran past him, and then he sent me a message. I was just so in my own world. I didn't even see it for a while there, but yeah, shout out to Bloodborne. Nerd of the Rings asks, which are you more excited for, Amazon Lord of the Rings or War of the Rohirrim? I think I have to say the Amazon show, because years have gone into this. So I think they started talking about doing a show in like early 2017. I was still in high school at the time when like rumors about a show came out. They finally announced it of like fall of 2017 when I just started college. And now I've already graduated, like bought a house, like it's been a long time. I swear I've gotten like gray hair since they announced this show. I swear. So it's been a long time. I gotta say that one. Especially because the anime, like I talked about this a little bit before, whereas I definitely will love the storyline of it, I haven't really gotten into anime myself. I still have to get into that kind of just that type of style. So let's see here. Wait, the Nature of Middle-earth comes out tomorrow? I thought that was like... Let me check that. If so, I gotta get that. Like right now. The Nature of Middle-earth. I thought the Nature of Middle-earth came out... Oh my gosh, it does come out tomorrow? Well, you guys see how up-to-date on things I am. That's awesome. Because I thought it came out in the fall. I thought that's when you could, like, order it or pre-order it. Yeah, I'm excited to see what the Nature of Middle-earth covers, and if it changes any of, like if it changes any of the canon or adds to the canon. See, yeah, Nerd of the Rings said, pretty sure Nature of Middle-earth is September 2nd. That's what I thought as well, because I remember you tweeting about it, Matt, and that you pre-ordered it. But this article from the Tolkien Society in November said it was to be published on the 24th of June, 2021. I'll actually put this in the chat so you guys can all check it out. Huh. Yeah, if it comes out tomorrow, I'll have to pick it up very, very soon. Revan Alva, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Here's a question. Have you listened to the Blind Guardian album Nightfall in Middle-earth? And do you play any of the 40K tabletop or keep up with the lore? So yeah, I've listened to a bit of the Blind Guardian album. It's so good. It's so good. I'm trying to like get more and more into that kind of genre of metal and music. It's awesome. I love that they did that. And what's more, it's interesting. A lot of names in the Silmarillion book and like of places around Beleriand are actually like names of metal bands. It's like so weird, but I'll like be working on a video, look up Tol Sirion or something like that, and then it turns out to be some metal band. It's like it's insane. I love it. Nerd of the Rings, they delayed the release. Originally it was June, but they pushed it back, I'm pretty sure. That sounds right. That sounds right. Thanks, man. I appreciate it, man. Seth Miller, good to see you. Yoy boy, please. Let's see here. Yeah, Matt, actually let me know if you're still watching. What are you most excited for? War of the Rohirrim or War of Rohan, I think, or is it or the Amazon show? Castra, please watch Attack on Titan. It's the pinnacle of anime storytelling. Yeah, that's what I've heard as well. I gotta give that one a watch. Revan, yeah, Amon Amarth, Mount Doom. Yeah, love it. Hello, Shadow Dragon. Hello there, Yoy. Did you have your second breakfast? Did I? I went to the gym this morning. Did cardio for like 4 miles. And then... I don't think I did. I think I had a protein shake and that was it. I need a second breakfast late in the afternoon. Nerd Cookie says, really sad to hear about Amazon's canceled new Lord of the Rings MMO. I agree. Like... Honestly, with how Amazon's MMOs have been in the past, like just how they've been in development and how they have, like, how they've been on launch, I've not really heard great things, so it doesn't surprise me, but I was still really looking forward to what they would be able to do. But at the same time, I love that Lord of the Rings Online will be, like, it's not going to be targeted. It's not going to be competition or something. Yeah. Yeah, and it's weird with the Amazon game, too, that we didn't get any, like, news about it for years. We didn't hear anything about it. And supposedly it wasn't connected to the show, but then it was around the same time period as the show, so I don't know. I was wondering, Matt. I was like, dude, he's got to be typing. He's got to have an essay. River Critter asks, favorite songs from the books? I've got a couple of them, but one, let me go to Tolkien Gateway and look up songs. Because I would say one of my favorites is the Song of Durin that Gimli sings in Moria. Like, all my patrons, I've talked about this before on Patreon. I love that one. Oh yeah, there are some bangers. There are some good songs. But I would say that's definitely one of them. I wish there were more songs in the Silmarillion, but let me keep thinking about that one. Thank you so much for the super chats. Is it true Amazon only has rights to Akalabeth? And if so, does that mean they can't use appendix from Lord of the Rings, even if it ties into the Second Age? So I don't know, honestly. I wish. I've been thinking about this for years. I don't know what they have the rights to be honest. I know they have the rights to definitely the Lord of the Rings, but it would surprise me if they have rights to anything from the Silmarillion, because the Akalabeth is within the Silmarillion, and those rights are so locked away. Same with the Unfinished Tales and the big three, the Great Tales of Beren and Luthien, Children of Húrin, and Fall of Gondolin. Those rights are just so locked up. I don't even know if they have the rights to Akalabeth, but the downfall of Numenor is mentioned within the appendices. So I wonder if that's more... And the appendices are technically a part of the Lord of the Rings, so I wonder more if that's where they're drawing it from. But I wonder if they're going to have to make up like a lot of names that would appear in the Silmarillion or something like that. Jeffrey Schweitzer says, thanks for your fresh perspectives on Tolkien's works. Hey, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Nerd Cookies says, I'm super excited for Lord of the Rings Gollum. Yeah, I'm excited to see what kind of game that is. What I'm kind of hoping for is a very character-based, almost psychological thriller game, if that makes sense. Because Gollum, I don't see how combat would really work too much with him, except for literally like every time you encounter an orc, you pick up a rock and you have to sneak up behind him and then jump out at him and hit him over the head with the rock. But I feel like that would get old very fast in terms of combat. I hope it's a lot more of like choice based, like within the mind of Gollum and Smeagol kind of stuff as he travels around Mordor, looking at his past and maybe some foreshadowing for his future. I'm excited to see what that storyline's going to be like. Paul A., great to see you. Assuming you know about... I don't know. I don't know about that one. Nerd of the Rings. Amazon, I'm excited for getting a long epic tale in series format, but I think it could be easier to have a single awesome tale in War of the Rohirrim. Series almost always have clunker episodes. That's a great point. Yeah. And I'm sorry I couldn't make the live stream that you invited me to with right when this was announced, but because I would have loved to talk to you about it then. But no, I agree. Series, they have other agendas, right? They stretch out. They're trying to make back their money, and that is definitely one thing with the War of the Rohirrim that I'm excited for. is it feels just like a passion project. It can be 6 episodes and really like an hour long per episode, 6 episodes and be really fantastic. But yeah, no, that's totally true. I think with Amazon it's almost like there's greater risk, but what we could see could almost be greater reward. Because I don't know, I would just love to see Gil-galad, yelling at the front line in the front lines of the War of the Last Alliance, getting the Black Gate destroyed, like that, like live action too, not even anime. That would be amazing. Ranger of the North asks, Nerd of the Rings and Men of the West, does anyone know when Middle-earth 4K collection is coming out? I thought I heard that it was going to be this summer originally, but I haven't heard anything about it. Middle-earth 4K collection. Well, so, Aaron Evergreen, so he means, I think he means the 4K, like, extended edition, because I believe they were talking about adding in other deleted scenes, or doing a re-release, excuse me. James Trudell asks, hey Yoyston, thus far, are you thinking you're going to pursue a career with your political science degree or your YouTube channel? To be honest, right now I'm just doing YouTube, and because it gives me a very intrinsic sense of purpose, like making these videos for you guys, connecting with this community, giving people escapism, especially over the last year and a half. It's been a rewarding job. And so we'll see if something with poli-sci comes along. It really hasn't so far, but hopefully something that feels intrinsically like purposeful comes along as well. And it's something that I can juggle, because right now, either way, I'm going to stick with YouTube. But even if I get a second job with poli-sci, but we'll see. I definitely love what I do here. So yeah, Nerd of the Ring says they haven't announced it yet, but the 4K Ultimate Middle-earth Edition is supposed to come out summer 2021. Hopefully we'll get an announcement soon. That's what okay, thanks for the answer, man. That's what I was thinking as well, but I didn't know if it got pushed out. I kind of just do my thing, and then every once in a while I'll go on Twitter and it's like, oh, this new thing is coming out, and I'm like, sweet, I can't wait. Castra, if you had an unlimited budget, what would my dream Lord of the Rings game be? Oh, I've said this for a long time. A Bethesda Skyrim-like game set in Beleriand of the First Age. And from the years... when was the Dagor Bragorlock? That was like 445? Let me see. 455. So, from 455... to like 590 of the First Age, like somewhere in there, or like throughout the whole thing, and you just can play a man or a dwarf or an elf or whatever, and you see the breaking of the Siege of Angband. You play alongside like Turin during his story. You play alongside Tur during the fall of Gondolin. You see the Nirnaeth Arnoediad. You help Beren and Luthien do their quest. Like, I would love a Silmarillion Bethesda Skyrim-esque game. That would be incredible. It'd be incredible. Oh, see you, Seth. Thanks for coming, my friend. Ranger of the North. Yoyston, what is your first introduction to Tolkien's works? Well, so I, like many fans, I actually first started my Tolkien exploration in through the movies, through Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. And like that's where it was really definitely a childhood dream come true, talking to Billy Boyd and Dominic Monaghan. I mean, I just watched The Return of the King like last month too. Like I started my journey with Middle-earth there, and honestly, as far back as I remember, because my dad introduced my brother and I to the movies and then to the games, and then I found my way to the books. As far back as I can remember, Lord of the Rings Extended Edition was always on my shelves. Like, I'm 22 years old, so So as far back as I can remember, I've always had Lord of the Rings in my life. I can kind of remember being young and like seeing my dad watch the end of Return of the King, and I was like it was the part where like Frodo, has his finger bitten off by Gollum, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I was a kid, and I was like, what's happening? And then I think I got into Lord of the Rings at, like around that time or something. Moira Mahone, if you got to spend exactly 1 hour with 3 of the Valar, who would they be? I'm betting $1,000 Tolkos would be one of them. Yeah, I would. Okay, yeah. So, I already had his picture prepared here. So, since we're going to that, there's our boy. All right, so if I could spend 1 hour with 3, like each with 3 different with 3 different Valar. Tolkos, we would grab an epic chest workout, at least chest, maybe some arms. We'll throw some arm day in there as well, and maybe some leg day in there. But definitely a big workout with Tolkos. And then I'd want to fly like with Manwë on one of his eagles, I think. That would be awesome. And then like probably Ulmo to be go swim through the seas with Ulmo. Like, that would be fun. That would be sweet. Yeah. Sorry, Matt. Love you, buddy. 22, holy cow, you always been making me feel old. 22 years old saying, I remember when I was young. Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, so I always, like, over the past couple of years, I've sprouted a beard. And even though I'm 22, I swear I've gotten gray hair since Amazon announced their show. That's how long it's been. That's what it feels like, at least. Young whippersnapper. Thanks, Morgan. As much as I'd love to stare at our boy Tolkos, I'll switch it to something else. Maybe? Wait, oh, he's still there. There he is. There we go. Oh, dude. Matt, get a good cry with Nienna. That would be nice. That would feel good. That'd be pretty nice. Timbo Took, you guys constantly make me feel old. Sorry, man. You're like the patron, like you're like everybody's gaffer. That's what it is. Timbo, you are all of our gaffer. That's what it is. Let's see here. Power shrugs every day. Yeah, that with Tolkos, that'd be awesome. What was your favorite great tale to read? For me, it was The Children of Hurin. I love all 3 of them for different reasons. Children of Hurin, I would say, is probably the most like in-depth of them all, and it's like the most complex of them. And even though I know Helen from Clueless Fangirl hates that I love Turin Turambar, I love Turin Turambar. Now, will I justify or vindicate what he does? No, I won't. But he's also cursed. His is a story of free will and determinism for my philosophy friends out there, but I love his story. But The Fall of Gondolin, there's just something so romantically told within that story. This nostalgia of elder days, this inevitable fall, this arrogance that led to the fall, this betrayal. Something so nostalgic about that. But with Beren and Luthien, the greatest love story of all time, right? So it's hard to say. It's really depending on the mood, I guess. Timbo Took the Gaffer. That's right. Let's see. I see everybody's talking about Gandalf here. Andrew Graham asks, random question, when Gandalf died, did he assume his old form or a different form? I think it was the same form, because it's really weird. I think it's in the Peoples of Middle Earth. It's like the 12th in like the series of Middle Earth, the History of Middle Earth volume. It talks about Elven Reincarnation, and I imagine the nature of Middle Earth will also talk more about that. But pretty much how I think Elven Reincarnation works. Sorry, it's been a while since I read this, so it was like a year ago. I think how it works is when an elf dies, their body is gone. It's like it stays wherever it died. So when Finrod died, for instance, in the pits of Tol and Gaurhoth, and Sauron's wolf killed him, his body stayed there and then was eventually taken and buried. But a new body was made for him by the Valar, like almost the physical object, and then his spirit or his mind, right at the Cartesian dualism of mind and body. The body was built anew for him by the Valar, and then the mind was placed back in. However, with Gandalf, I think it was his same body, but also his same mind was put back into his body, and then he was recloaked in Lothlorien. So it's actually a lot less mystical, I think, than it seems. But I think all it was he died, he left his body behind, and then his spirit came back to his body, and then his body was recloaked. Nerd of the Rings. Psh, don't listen to Helen, she's a dwarf hater. She is. Jarrett Hayes. Hey Yoy, what would you do if you could spend 1 hour with Melkor and ask 5 questions? What would they be? Can you please not kill me? Would be one, probably. I would definitely ask why. What compels you to resist the other Valar and to resist the somewhat natural edicts of Ea, of Eru Iluvatar? Like, what compels you to do this? That would definitely be one of the questions. And then I'd perhaps get more specific. Why punish the elves in particular, instead of just the Valar? Would there be anything you could reconcile with the Valar or the elves over? Would you ever be willing to reconcile that kind of... Like, it would just be questioning his motives more, I think. Because I get why he wants to... Like, he just wants to rule the world in his image because he is the greatest of the Ainur. But I would still ask deeper than that. It's just like, what compels you to do that? Homebody, he kept changing his mind on how elf reincarnation works. Honestly, that sounds about right, yeah. And that's okay. It's a super complex issue. But the philosophical side of me is curious about that. So, Connor Hopper says, pretty sure they repaired his body and the Valar sent him back, where he then made his way to Lorien. So, I would disagree with that, because sending him back, they never sent him on a boat back. Like, it's weird, because with elves, like Glorfindel, for instance, he died, his body was gone, like, was, left in Middle-earth. But when the Valar sent him back, they physically sent him back on a boat. They didn't do that with Gandalf. Gandalf was, like... the Great Eagle Gwaihir found him on Xirac Zigil and then brought him to Lorien. So I know he wasn't sent back on a ship from the west. Like, Círdan would have probably been like, what? Because Círdan saw Gandalf come to Middle-earth originally, and then seeing Gandalf come back to Middle-earth, like, on another boat, Círdan would have been like, where were you? Ranger of the North, what do you think? Did Theoden recognize Aragorn when he saw him in Rohan because he remembered him as Thorongil? Probably. I'm pretty sure about that, because he definitely respected Aragorn, like, from the beginning of their friendship. I'm pretty sure. And to be fair, I think Denethor... I don't know if Denethor ever, like, I know he never met Aragorn as Aragorn, but he probably would have remembered Thorongil as Aragorn, or he probably could have put that together, to be honest. Tactical droid, when elves perish, do they get reincarnated? Yeah, so that's their fate, right? Is that for better or for worse, they could never escape Arda. They're always within the circles of this world. And when they get tired physically, like, of the world and want to go to Valinor, like, they can't escape. Again, immortality sounds nice until you're like, oh, I can't ever leave. This is it forever. And that's kind of how it is for elves. So when they die, their spirits go to the halls of Mandos to await reincarnation, or to just wait there. Men get to move on. They get to, like, I believe they go into a separate hall of Mandos before they move on. To where, no one knows for sure. I always think the halls of Iluvatar, but elves have to stay in Middle-earth and then await reincarnation. But the Valar choose when they get to be reincarnated. Because they make their vessel, I believe. They make their bodies back. So Feanor, like, arguably, the Valar hated him the most out of any of the elves. And they did eventually have to reincarnate him. If Dagor Daggerath, which Tolkien kind of rewrote and kind of was like, oh, that Dagor Daggerath couldn't actually happen because Melkor's evil would always live on. Like, so he would always have to live on. I think there were just some theological issues that he had with Dagor Daggerath. But after that, Feanor was going to be reincarnated so that he could surrender the Silmarils. But the Valar choose kind of when you do that. So Finrod, Glorfindel, these two elves were so good and mighty in their days alive that they were just... The Valar were like, oh yeah, for sure, we'll reincarnate you. Yeah, Grimdark. Feanor couldn't physically reincarnate because of his evil deeds. Exactly, yeah. The Valar didn't want to, but eventually they had to. If you believe Dagor Daggerath. Because the Silmarils were his to surrender. So they had to remake him so that he could take the 3 Silmarils, eventually getting them back, and then surrender them to Yavanna. So Yavanna could break them and remake the 2 trees. Fantasy Writer 10, what do you think Tolkien would have thought of Lotro, of Lord of the Rings Online? I don't know. That's a good question. I try not to put too much thought into some things of, like, what would Tolkien like, what wouldn't he like, because I don't think he would like the movies all that much. I don't think he would like the games, Lord of the Rings Online included, all that much, because his medium, and he recognized this, was the best medium. Of if you want his version of Middle Earth, you have to read his version of you have to read his books. And I think to see, again, Lord of the Rings Online, one of the most faithful adaptations in my mind, if not the most faithful adaptation besides the books, still has its lore changes and stuff, and I think those would bother Tolkien, and he would say, well, why not just read the books? But I understand that you like these, but if you want the best version of it, it's probably my version of it because I created it, right? I feel like that's maybe something how Tolkien would say. I'm not sure. Maybe he would love it, but I kind of have my doubts about it because of how much Lord of the Rings Online even changes things, which isn't that often. Gabriel Shalok, thank you so much for the super chat. It's been fun yet again, but I have to go to work now until our next live stream meeting. Thank you, Yoyston. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate you, man. I'm so sorry if I said your name wrong, Gabriel. It's starting to get to that point where I'm like, I can't read, I guess. Moira Mahone, if you needed a sidekick or two, who would you want? Sam or Legolas and Gimli? Oh, Sam. Sam, like somebody that you can trust in their counsel no matter what, and like trust in their loyalty no matter what. For sure. Legolas and Gimli, like, you can always trust in their loyalty and their counsel as well, but like, I think sometimes they'd be more in competition with each other than like Sam would rescue you out of any tower, anytime, any place if you were Frodo. But if you were Aragorn and you were hanging out with Legolas and Gimli, they got their little competition going on, which might just distract you in battle. Homebody, except the Silmarils were based upon the light of the two trees, so what right did he have to cling to the Silmarils? Rhetorically, his biggest issue is grasping and attachment, in my opinion. I mean, for sure, but I think it opens up a larger conversation on when you create something, you didn't likely create the materials that created that thing, right? If you create a boat, you still had to fell trees that you didn't plant. You know, you still had to get metal that you likely didn't mine for. So it's definitely a metaphysical question, as well as like, is this boat mine because I created it, because I shaped and crafted the materials to get the boat, or because I got all the other or is it somebody else's because they made the materials? I think that's how it is for Feanor. It's like he technically put it all together, and he was the only elf who was able to do that, which is commendable. But the light wasn't his. You're right about that. And I think the honorable thing to do would have been to surrender them so that the two trees could have been back. Although you could also argue the Valar didn't even protect their trees. Melkor just came in and destroyed them without Tolkas being there to fight him, without Arome like hunting him. Like, they tried afterwards to hunt like him and Ungoliant down. But you could argue it's like, hey, you had your two trees and you lost them, so... Bill the Pony, best sidekick. Armand? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Dale Davis. When I run my Adventures in Middle-earth RPG campaign, I refer people new to Tolkien's works to your channel for history. Thank you so much, Dale. And I think you also helped me answer something. So, the Adventures in Middle-earth, that was the book that I referred to earlier. Like, the different stories that there were in the comic book shop next to me. Is that D&D, Dale, or is that like something like D&D? Let me know. Let's see here. Jarrett Hayes, you should try Divide and Conquer mod for Medieval 2. It's such a good Lord of the Rings strategic game and has so much fun stuff you can do, like win as Mordor and hold back the goblins as Balin. I love that. I think I have... Let me check. I believe it's Total War 2. Yeah. No, I've definitely played that mod, and I think I played it a couple months ago. And I remember, I think I was the armies of like the West or Gondor or somebody, and then Sauron appeared on the field and just wiped out my army, and I was like, what? How did this happen? Galvin Lacey says, hey, where's this thumbnail? Is it real? Actually, yeah, so it's Lord of the Rings Online. It's my kinship house that I have with my dad in the game. So, yeah, I'm glad you like it. Marion Baggins, Bill the Pony, Who and the Good Boy, Treebeard the End. Tolkien created the best fictional trees, ponies, and good boys. I agree. They are the best. Oh, sweet. It is 5e. Thanks, Dale. Thanks for letting me know. And Genghis Galahad. Yes, the Adventures in Middle-earth is a D&D 5e compatible. That's awesome. Because I've thought about doing that with my friends or doing that on Patreon at some point. It would take a lot of preparation and work, but of making like a one-shot 5e campaign or something, that would be fun. Oh, interesting. Adventures in Middle-earth is a low magic 5e reskin of D&D. That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's see here. I can't pronounce that username. I'm sorry. it's so long. What does immortality mean in the legendarium? Are elves truly immortal, or is it just not yet known how long they can live? Does dwelling in either Middle-earth or Valinor make a difference? So, to answer your last question first, does dwelling in either Middle-earth or Valinor make a difference? I think so, especially on the psychology of the elves and their power as well. Because the Undying Lands are truly undying, right? So when you're an elf and you're also undying, I think it's somewhat therapeutic to live in a land that is like you, that, like, you know, you have a favorite tree or something, for instance, and it doesn't actually die ever. Over 10,000 years, it doesn't die. Versus in Middle-earth, where it's like, no matter how great your works are, how great Lothlorien was, it's still, in the end, faded, with Nenya fading after the destruction of the One Ring. So, what does immortality mean? Elves are truly immortal because, like I said before, I think elves are bound to the fate of Arda. So as long as Arda persists, so too do the elves, because they can't escape. Even if their physical bodies die, their spirits stay there. And that can be rough. I think that's... I don't know if elves are really jealous of mortality, but I could see it. For that reason. Jared Hayes, hey Men of the West, if you could ask 5 questions to Feanor, what would they be? That's a great question. It would be similar to Melkor. I would say, like, were you... It would sound kind of mean, my questions. But it would be like, what were you thinking when you killed your own kin at Alqualande? Because if you would have stayed in if you would have stayed in Valinor and tried to befriend the Valar and your kin, you would have had a greater chance at defeating Melkor. Like, it would have been... It's kind of like the Michael Scott stuff, like to Toby. Why are you the way that you are? That would be kind of my questions to Feanor. Why did you draw a sword on your brother? Why did you betray the Valar and go rebel against them? Why did you do an oath? Yeah, It wouldn't be maybe the nicest conversation, but... Dale Davis, have you thought about starting a Discord for your community? I actually do have one, but it's Patreon exclusive. It keeps it a nice size community, and it moderates itself, kind of thing. So if I opened it up to the general public, it'd be a lot more moderation, one less Patreon exclusive thing, right? So it really helps out the channel, absolutely. We also play Battle for Middle-earth on our Patreon. We also play Lord of the Rings online every once in a while, and we do a podcast once a month. So, speaking of Patreon, I do want to shout out our Valor Tier patrons for making all this possible and just for always being there for me. Adrian De la Torre, Chris Ortner, Peter Sheppard, Jonathan Putnam, Mark Kralick, Blair Scouten, Tobias Göldner, Merten, John Hume, Tom Bombadil, Ridgy93, Jennifer Wood, Sam McBee, Matt Sibbach, QuantumCatalyst, Elizabeth Calvert, Maz Gibs, and Ben Gardner. Thank you all so much. I'm not wrapping up quite yet. I think I'll do another 15 or so minutes, but just want to shout them out and all of my patrons. It means a lot. Homebody said, yeah, elves are linked to Arda, so not truly immortal. Yeah, exactly. I just read The Lost Tales. They're virtually immortal. Yeah, I think they're immortal as so long as Arda is immortal, right? So, yeah. However old Arda ended up being before its destruction eventually, that's how, like, that's probably the max amount of years an elf could, be from the time that elves were born to the end of Arda. Admiral Viking, hi Yoyston, have you ever thought if Tolkien's experiences in World War I influenced his writing in any way, or if these experiences are reflected in his writings? That's a great question, and totally. There's definitely a thin line between, like, imagery or symbolism for things, but allegory. So he stays away from allegory, but obviously with every artist, every author, every kind of anyone, they're influenced by the setting and the stories and the people around them. If you guys have watched the Tolkien biopic, the biographical movie that came out like 2 years ago in 2019, that one has the imagery of that is really good, and I think really right on. There's a moment where Tolkien's running through the trenches, and then then flamethrowers come out in World War I, and how it's like pictured on screen as a dragon, like Glaurung during the Nernaith Arnoidiad, and he's just like wiping everybody out with fire. And so I think things like that for sure influenced him, absolutely. But was it an allegory? I would stay away from that. But Nerd of the Rings, great stream, my friend. I got to go record a script. See you around, Millen. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for coming by. What is today? Today's Wednesday. Yeah. I was just wondering. Nerd of the Rings releases on Saturdays, so yeah, please check out Nerd of the Rings. Nerd Cookies, who is in here. Voice of Geekdom. Yeah, they're all great. Really good friends of the channel. Shout out also to The Broken Sword, formerly known as History of the Ages. They've rebranded and remade their channel, so please check out. If you're curious about James and Jake, please check out The Broken Sword. That's their new channel. Timbo Took, yep, big shout out to our gaffer. He's a great guy. So, honestly, yeah, shout out to all of the channels on my like recommended featured channels list. They're all great people. So Moira Mahone, just to clarify, is Arda the same as Middle Earth or not? So Arda is the greater Middle Earth, if that makes sense. So Middle Earth is actually the continent that we see in the map, and it's also technically Beleriand when Beleriand was there as well. It's the hither shores. It's the shores of mortals and dwarves and men and hobbits and all of that. And then Valinor is in Ea. It's still within the universe of being. It's on Arda, the world, but it's like from how I can see it, Middle Earth is like all of the. It's almost like Pangea in a sense. If Pangea was still around, it's like the continent, but Earth is Arda. It's hard to explain it. It's almost like saying North America versus Earth. Yeah. That's a good way to say it. Middle Earth is Europe. Arda is Earth. Sorry, I couldn't read your username. I don't try not to get demonetized. Josh True, hello, I love you. Love you too, buddy. Love you too. Yeah, Tactical Droid. Arda is the world. Middle Earth is the continent in the middle of the world. There you go. That's a good way to say it. Genghis Galahad, would you say that rather than overtly tripping up Gollum, his falling makes him the kind of built-in sorta Deus Ex Machina? The films make that part crazy when he holds up the One Ring. Yeah, so in the films, this wouldn't have worked out so well. You had to give more agency to Frodo for Frodo pushing him off the ledge and all of that kind of stuff. But in the book, when you read the Silmarillion and the Downfall of Numenor, when you read the Akhalabeth, when you read the Unfinished Tales, when you read The Hobbit and then The Lord of the Rings, and then you get to the end of Lord of the Rings when Gollum falls in, it's like, this is a pretty well-known theory, but it totally would make sense if Eru Ilúvatar pushed Gollum off, and it wasn't like a Deus Ex Machina. It was God himself being like, "You're done, goodbye," because it would make sense. Eru Ilúvatar or the other Valar intervened after the First Age only on very rare occasions, but you have also this moment during the Battle of Pelennor Fields where this like southern wind comes up north and it pushes Aragorn's ships up Anduin, and it pushes all the clouds away so the Rohirrim come in during the dawn. I think I've always thought that was Manwë, so like showing his support for the Free Peoples against Sauron. Because he was the Lord of Winds. So I think it was Ilúvatar that made Gollum trip and fall as well, for sure. Marion Baggins, after seeing the movies, when rereading the books, which actors can you see as certain characters? It's always something I've said about The Lord of the Rings, especially. I think they were perfectly cast. I mean, Ian McKellen as Gandalf, Viggo Mortensen as Aragorn. Like, gosh, I don't know enough professional actors, to be honest, to be like, yes, that person should play that character. It's really hard to say, especially when it comes to characters like Beren and Luthien. If they were to do a Silmarillion movie, it's really hard to say. What do you all think? Let me know. Ranger of the North, do you prefer book or movie Faramir? Oh, book Faramir, 100%. 100% book Faramir. I think I get why the movies did what they did. One of my biggest disagreements with the movie, I think there could have been other things that they could have done rather than make Faramir almost an antagonist in a sense. I love book Faramir. He's a great guy. Same with I wish Éomer in the movie had more screen time because like both of the actors for Faramir and Éomer were great, but they kind of diverged from how they were in the books, and I would have liked to see them a little bit more like they were in the books. Let me see. Richard Madden as Turin or Feanor. Oh, I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, Connor Hopper says Sir Christopher Lee is Saruman. There is no other. I was thinking about that the other day, like how he got Tolkien's consent to play Gandalf if they ever did a movie version, and then he ended up playing Saruman. Christopher Lee is just perfect as Saruman. I couldn't really see him as Gandalf, honestly, all that much. Pixelman's ROTMG says, I didn't like how every mishap is pushed onto Pippin in the movies. Yeah, I didn't realize that, honestly, until last summer when I was going through watching the movies to do podcasts for Patreon with some of my friends. Because I was watching that with a couple people who either had never seen Lord of the Rings or hadn't seen it like since they were like they couldn't remember it almost, so it was like a fresh perspective. And they were like, "Man, Pippin sucks because he does everything wrong." It's like you have two choices, a good choice and a bad choice. He always does the bad choice, and I'm like, oh no, he's not the villain, guys. He's a good guy. And then he kind of redeems himself, right, in the Two Towers and the Return of the King. But in Fellowship, he's constantly screwing up. I get you. I get you with that one. Jarrett Hayes, hey Men of the West, you again. If you could ask 3 questions to Iru Ilúvatar, what would they be? I mean, again, a lot of whys in this, a lot of why. But I mean, I would question him about free will and determinism in Middle Earth. I would say, is there free will or is there determinism based on how you made Middle Earth? That would definitely be one of my questions for him. Probably why create Melkor, and what's the point of Middle Earth for you? You know, because there are theological answers to that question within like Christianity or Islam or Judaism or wherever you want to look. They have answers for that question, but in Middle Earth specifically, I'd say, why did you create Ea, and why did you create its people? Like, what was your intention in doing that? Yeah. Thank you guys so much for the support. Thank you so much for being here. It's been so great talking to all of you. Oh, Bilbo Baggins says, when will you release that Ulmo video you promised? Yes. Don't let me forget about that. I will make sure to add it right now to my notes, to my list. Let's see. Epic character histories. Ulmo. And I'll also make sure Fingolfin's in there too. Okay. Soon, hopefully. Hopefully later this year. But that's always how it is. It's like, I meant to do Éomer's epic character history like last year around this time, like last year. That's when I really thought about doing it and wanted to. But they always just get pushed out because I'm like, oh, this topic and this topic. I've always wanted to do this topic. I love it. Yeah, totally. I can make that. Maybe what I can do is in a couple weeks when I go to do another epic character history, I can put up a poll for you guys on the community tab just to, and Ulmo will be one of the options. Dale Davis, any way to get an Adventures in Middle Earth channel set up in my Discord? For sure. I think if you join our Patreon or what have you and talk to the other patrons and stuff, if there's enough interest in that, absolutely, I could get that set up. I don't know if I would DM it at first or anything. I would eventually want to, but yeah, totally. If a lot of patrons want to do that, I'd love to kind of set that up for you guys or take part in it or what have you. Question from Raphos. Question, do you remember every single name of every single character in all of the Silmarillion and all the other books? I remember a lot of them, but definitely not every single one. The other children of Fingolfin, like, not the main ones, not like Erithil and Torgon and Fingon, but the other two, I think it's Ignor and Angrod. Like, those, see, I think that's right. Ignor and Angrod. Is that right? I don't know. I forget some of those where it's just like they're almost one-off characters of... Oh, no. Ignor is son of Finarfin. So, no. To answer your question, no. Because that's tough. It's really hard, especially when they have, like, 2 sentences about them and then they're not around anymore. Back when entertainment was gold asks, can you do a video of Torgon and I think that's supposed to say Finrod friendship? For sure. I do have that series, the friendships series. So yeah, that'd be a great one. Thanks for the suggestion. I'll write that one down. Let's see here. Finrod and Torgon. Yeah, thank you guys so much for the support. It really means a lot. Ridgie said he'd be interested in doing a Adventures in Middle Earth on Patreon. Yeah, so I'd love to get that set up for everybody and see how that goes. I'm always looking for new things to do with our Patreon members, and honestly, again, I appreciate any, super chats and members on YouTube, but the best way by far to support the channel is through Patreon. Again, I appreciate them all, but it's hard for me to get the same perks to different platforms. So definitely Patreon has the most perks, especially, right now. Yeah. So, but I appreciate all the support. It really puts a smile on my face, and I don't know, it's really humbling to me. So thank you so much. Jared Hayes says, what does the straight road mean? Is Valinor just across the Great Sea, or is it, different? Could mortals magically find it if they sailed west far enough? No, so how I perceive it is after the downfall of Numenor and the reshaping of the world, it was taken off of the world and put into its... I almost see it like a moon, almost like Valinor, but it's still... it's not the moon, though. It's weird to describe, but I almost see it being taken off to where if you tried to sail to it, if you sailed west from the Grey Havens as a mortal looking for it, you would never find it, because the straight road is just a path that's that takes you one way, and if you found it, you would never come back, is almost how I see it. I don't think mortals could really find it. I honestly think that's another reason why Círdan had to stay, so they could just impart that knowledge to him. To be like, okay, go look for this road here. I don't know. It's really, yeah, it's a great question. Ridgie, I'm sure we could rope Tom and Joker into it. Oh yeah, absolutely. That'd be fun. Let's see, what's my favorite Ella Ave asks, favorite film and why? You know, I think Return of the King it's always been my favorite because the speeches, the moments, the heroes, like, just they have their emotional gravitas in that film. So I would say the Return of the King, but I always count the Lord of the Rings as like one big film because you need all three really. You need the nostalgia within Eriador and the big moments to set up within the Fellowship, a bit of payoff in the Two Towers, and more setup for the final big payoff of the Return of the King. Let's see. I think I'll do a couple more questions before we call it a day. My voice is getting haggard. People are talking about LOTR group. Yeah, I mean we can do this more too, but we have at least done some LOTR stuff on our Patreon. We have a kinship set up all on Arkenstone and everything too for patrons. Oh, question for you guys. Well, so this weekend I'm gonna do a video on the Great Plague of the Third Age of Middle-earth, and like what happened during it. But what would you all like to see next week, like the week after, the beginning of July? Just let me know. Armand Rampersad asks, where would you like to know more about in Arda? In all of Arda. Interesting. There are probably places in Beleriand, but I would have to say the east and the south. I would say Rune and like Harad and Far Harad for sure. Raffo says, I think it's insane how you can remember the names of all the sons of and daughters of the three Noldor lords. Feanor only has 7 sons. Well, I try. I definitely have to do my research with every video, even though I grew up reading this stuff and everything like that. But thanks, I appreciate it. It's definitely one of my biggest passions, for sure. Let's see here. Jenny Park says, Círdan video, please. I got you covered. I think I made one in 2019. So there should be a Círdan epic character history already. Ooh, a friendship video between Celebrimbor and Narvi. That's cool. I like that. Hey, thank you so much, Elaine, from Nerd Cookies. I'm glad I could help you through your script. I appreciate you so much. What profession do you think you'd pursue as a citizen of Middle-earth? Pixelmen's asks. Let's see. What profession? It depends on when I'm in Middle-earth. If I was there in the Third Age, like before The Lord of the Rings, I'd probably say Ranger, because then I'm doing stuff and I'm somewhat lore-wise and intelligent, but I'm still out there learning to live in the wild and hunting down evil so that good folk like hobbits could live peacefully. But if we're talking Fourth Age, dude, I'd be a farmer in the Shire, or I'd be chilling in, next to Anuminos or something like that. That'd be awesome. Sounds good. Thank you so much, Ridgie. Appreciate you. Castro, yeah, I've definitely played. I've played all 3 Dark Souls games. I need to play Bloodborne, and I've played a bit of Sekiro, but Sekiro was really way too hard for me. It's really difficult, but definitely the Dark Souls. Yeah, I love Dark Souls. Shadow Dragon says, even if Amazon sucks, we still have a lot of books, 3 trilogies, and a bunch of cool games. See, and that's what I mean, is it's like, we can't let it get to us that it's like, oh, is this going to be good, or is this, like, is this going to be worrying that it's going to be good or not? Because either way, we still have the things that we already love. So, and you all know me. If the Amazon show is bad, I will say it. I don't care about Amazon not being happy with me or my channel in saying that, because it's always, Tolkien's works has always been the priority. So let's see here. Oh, thank you guys so much. Thanks, Ranger of the North. Appreciate ya. Let's do one more big question here. Owen Wilson as Iluvatar. I like it. Wow. Love it. Yeah, let's end with that. I like it. What Anist Joy says, what is your favorite elven realm? Imladris, Lorien, etc. Again, it depends on age, but I think it's really difficult. I think in the third age, I would probably say Lothlorien has to be my favorite. In the second age, probably Linden would be my favorite. Maybe Eregion, but I would probably say Linden for the second age. I love Rivendell for sure, but it's like what Frodo says in the Fellowship. Rivendell was almost a reminder of the Elder Days, whereas Lothlorien was a remnant of the Elder Days. And then in the first age, probably Gondolin. I think, yeah, probably Gondolin. I like Doriath, I like Nargothrond, but I think Gondolin is, yeah. Yeah, and it's just, why I wanted to end with this question is, I mean, Tolkien put so much nostalgic elements within all of his realms. Men, dwarves, elves, even the Shire. And, like, each one is really special in its own way. I always love diving into all of them, but thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna give my Valar tier patrons another shout out here. Adrian De la Torre, Chris Ortner, Peter Sheppard, Jonathan Putnam, Mark Kralick, Blair Scouten, Tobias Göldner, Merten, John Hume, Tom Bombadil, Reggie93, Jennifer Wood, Sam McBee, Matt Sibbach, QuantumCatalyst, Elizabeth Calvert, Maz Gibs, and Ben Gardner. Thank you all so much. Really appreciate you and my patrons and our members. Of course, I don't thank my members enough. I really appreciate you guys. Back when entertainment was gold, thank you so much for the super chat. Your comment about the series deserves this. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Hobbit patrons, a shout out to. I love and appreciate all my patrons, but if I go through all of my hobbits, it'd be a lot. Yeah, so I think this is where we'll wrap it up. I need to do another live stream. I realized it too. It's like, I haven't done a live stream in so long. I have to do one soon. Talk about all the new updates and everything like that. So I'll probably do another live stream in a couple months here. It won't be as long as this break between like 7 or 8 months has been. So I'll do another one and we'll talk again soon. So yeah, let me see here. We'll end with my Endshire picture. Yeah, thanks, Moira. I appreciate it. Almost forgot. And yeah, so I'll see you all on Sunday with another video. My friends, thank you all so much for joining me on this adventure. Until the next one.